Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video over here on X3. We've kind of started every video right now by questioning our name choice for this channel. I'll probably try to avoid that at some point in the future, but for now, you guys know that you're here on the Rambling channel, and today we will be rambling. It's been a while since I've uploaded here, just because I've been so busy. As many of you guys know, or maybe don't, I'm not sure. Recently, I guess earlier this month, I think it was the 8th and 9th, I ran a pretty large Star Wars Squadrons tournament. It was a $20,000 prize. We had full production and everything. It was a lot of work, and it just kept me busy for a long time. And more than that, I've been kind of dealing with some burnout lately, a lot of burnout. And I'm going to talk about that for a little bit before getting to the main topic of this conversation. I may even have a couple of topics before then, so I'll put some timestamps down below in the description. But yeah, that tournament was a lot of work and it was a lot of burnout. And even afterwards, I kind of tweeted about this. I started experiencing, I guess, just burnout or like in cognitive overload, really. I've sort of at the point still where like I've just had so much work to do lately that even little things are starting to become difficult and everything is sort of adding up. Like a good example is my second channel, X2. I just haven't been able to upload a video there. I just haven't had the energy after I'm done doing everything else I need to get a video done. And even that's even when I'm taking a sort of bit of streaming break too. Like even my main video production has kind of fallen back a bit. Like I still get as many videos out as I can, but they're just coming out later and later in the night because there's more time where I'm just kind of unable to really work hard and work at full productivity. And I don't really know what the answer to that is. I think it's starting to get a little bit better. I've taken a few nights, not fully off, but like where I'll just do a video for the main channel and then I'll watch some hockey or something. It's the playoffs. So I spend a lot of time doing that. But it's tough. And I think part of it is also that I've got a lot going on in my like non-YouTube life as well. A lot of you probably know this, but I do have two kids and it's summer and there's just so much. It just feels like there's always something to do. Like there's always a project for around the house. Always this new thing, even if it's just like calling somebody to come and put, traps down because we sort of live on a green belt. So there's like critters in the backyard. We don't want getting into our house. So like even just doing that, it's like a dozen little things start adding up and it's just each individual one then becomes so much more difficult. And like on the tournament side, it went really well. But like even the thought of I still have to pay everybody and like I can afford to do it. Like I need to get some actual liquid cash, but that's more of a time thing than a problem thing. And just that alone, like having to pay out like, oh man, it's gonna be so many people because there's 4 winning teams of 5 to 7 players plus everyone who worked. It's a lot of people and it's really sort of overwhelming me. And at some point, I'm going to just sit down and get it all done. Not fun though. About the tournament though, it was pretty good. I was sort of mixed expectations on it because it was a lot of money. I knew I wasn't going to make my money back, but I was more kind of concerned about putting on a good event and maybe setting up the stage for something really cool in the future. So I think we've sort of established ourselves, and especially with the production team we had, the production was generally amazing as a team that can put together a really good tournament. And we definitely have ideas for the future, other games. Squadrons, unfortunately, despite my best efforts and despite it being an absolutely phenomenal game, seems to be at the end of its life already. EA just did not support it the way it needed to. So we're going to have to look to other games, unfortunately. That's how I see it. I can see us perhaps doing another Squadrons tournament in the future, but I don't know. I'm really frustrated on that. I don't want to focus on that for today's video. But the tournament, so I wanted to do another tournament, but there was also something that happened in day one that kind of had me questioning it. We had a major technical issue day one. And basically what happened is there was a hardware issue. We had a production company doing the streaming. And for the first like hour or so or 45 minutes, the stream was just really choppy. And for a game like Squadrons where you can actually get sick if it's kind of choppy and it's just difficult to watch, it wasn't good enough. So first we tried restarting the stream. We went immediately down from like we were 1,400 viewers in climbing. We dropped down to like 900, which was really sad to see. And then even worse, we end up having to take a pretty long hiatus on like the stream starting soon screen or the stream be right back screen. And by long, I mean by the time everything was done, it was over an hour, and that was really shitty. It was really bad. I'm not blaming anyone at all because shit happens, and the production team did a great job of handling it when they did, and especially on the fly. Like I could tell that because they weren't in their ordinary setup because they were running multiple tournaments that weekend. Everything is messed up with COVID. And yeah, the fact that they were able to fix things is pretty remarkable, especially on the fly. But they were stressed, but I was just like next level stressed. And this has happened to me a few times in my life. I can think of maybe like 3 moments where I get so stressed I just can't be around something. So like there was nothing I could do to fix the situation. I was just seeing the numbers start to tank. I was thinking about all the money, and I was thinking about like sponsor obligations and stuff. I just couldn't be by my computer. I got up, I put my phone down, and I just left the room. And that was all I could do. I've talked about how I've got anxiety, and that's probably when it manifests the most, it's like that. One of the other times I can think about that really happening was the birth of my son. Kelsey had a long labor, and there was just a certain point where it just wasn't progressing. And she was much mentally tougher than I was. Like, I was actually scarred. Scarred's a bit dramatic, but I was like mildly traumatized by it, and not the actual birth itself, but just by the waiting. And like when you have a kid, this is something I want to talk about either in this video or another. When you have a kid, or even when you have a kid on the way, you make yourself very vulnerable. It's like you're putting a lot of your happiness, and not just that, I guess you're just putting your future into something that's really fragile, and you can't help but immediately kind of give your entire heart to your child, at least if you're like me. And that's even before they arrive. So it's just like, even though I live in Canada, in an amazing hospital, just the fear of something going wrong kind of, I think a lot of parents deal with that, and a lot of dads who don't talk about it, but the fear of something going wrong really ate at me for a while. And then the actual labor itself, when it just wasn't progressing, and it was just like, it was just not good. I mean, the baby was never in danger or anything like that even, but it was just not good. So I just wanted to get up and walk away. I felt sick to my stomach. And after my second child was born, I haven't really talked about this, but we were worried that she might have a heart defect, because they heard something on the, basically the cardiologist. When a baby's born, they will listen. Usually it's actually just a doctor, and you can hear what's called a murmur, which is it basically just like the heart. There's different ways a heart can murmur. There can be an echo or like a shift. But the doctor heard something, which is usually pretty rare because an ordinary doctor can't really hear that quite well unless they've trained their ears for it. The cardiologist came, and he heard it quite clear. And a murmur itself is not uncommon. Lots of babies have murmurs when they're born, just because the heart sometimes is not fully formed, and then it will form within the next week or so. But the cardiologist didn't think with my daughter that was the thing. He thought that it was something more serious. And I remember the week until that cardiology appointment, even though we never thought it was something like life-threatening, we thought it was something that, it might need corrective surgery at some point. It doesn't matter. Like, by the time you've got a new baby, you love them so much that like anything is really scary. So basically, we had to wait a week, which was like, I didn't eat that entire week. Like, that was my anxiety got the full kind of grip on me. Like, and when I have like a very physical reaction to anxiety, so I know some people do, some people don't, but like I literally get chills. Like, I get cold. I just feel really uncomfortable. I feel like everything is just sort of off. Like my guts get all messed up. I don't want to eat. It's not pleasant. And yeah, so with my daughter, I was like that for a week, and thank God when we went to the cardiology appointment, everything was okay. And on my way out, I saw other parents there with older kids or younger kid, well, not younger, but older kids or kids my daughter's age or just other children. And I was just kind of realizing like how lucky we are that it was nothing, because a lot of parents go in there and hear really bad news, or or they've got some sort of illness in their life, or that their child does that they have to deal with. And I just don't know. I hope that I never have to deal with something like that, because it will be tough to deal with. So, but I mean, that's kind of on the general topic of anxiety. You kind of have to figure out how to deal with stuff like that. Like, I'm not at the point where I want to deal with medication or anything, because I'm the kind of person who, my anxiety comes in very kind of limited situations. And it does really affect me in those limited situations. Like, it makes me, like, during when the production was having issues, I was literally not useful at all. So life for me is that they're very limited situations. I've kind of decided personally that I'm not going to let those stop me from doing things. So like, having a second kid was actually scary for me, because, and I know this as a man who has nothing physical going on during birth and labor, like, it's kind of funny too, because Kelsey obviously was having a tough time too, but I've heard, I hope this isn't like a wives' tale or whatever, that women, when they go through childbirth, they often, the endorphins and stuff that are released later, they kind of, it ends up making them forget a lot of the worst parts, and that's why you can have a really bad birth and labor and still be willing to have another kid. But yeah, I was just like, I was kind of dreading it, but I decided, like, obviously this is important enough that I want to do it. And with something like a future tournament, because it is such a cool thing and I'm so proud of what we did, despite the fact that I did have basically the worst production issue you can have in day one without fully losing a day, I kind of decided that I want to do it again. And I want to not only deal with those situations if they happen, but also deal with them a little bit better. Because I didn't deal with the situation well, and I don't like the way that anxiety kind of grapples me like that and makes me feel like that. So I think what I need to do is, like, for someone like me, like, I don't know much about medicine or pharmaceuticals. I don't think that's the solution for me, because it's not like debilitating on a day-to-day or even really relevant on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I think the better solution is finding ways to cope with extremely stressful situations. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best way to do things for me. Find ways to cope with very, very stressful situations. And it's kind of funny too, because like, as a kid, I never really dealt with stuff like I didn't have anxiety as a kid. Like, I remember playing big sports events and doing things in front of my, like, just moments now that would at least give me a little tinge of that, and I just don't remember that being a part of my life when I was younger. And I don't know what happened, if it's just natural part of getting older or if I've naturally been exposed to more things, but it's just interesting. And it's also interesting how I know a lot of people who like deal with this a lot worse than I do. Whether it's like, I know there are people I know, some of my very close, well, one of my very close friends has pretty severe social anxiety. And it is really debilitating for them, and it makes it difficult for them to go to a lot of events and really just do anything. And like, even small interactions they struggle with going through a drive-through. So that's tough. So it's weird how on one perspective people have it, much more, they have a much more difficult time day to day than I do. But on the other hand, like, my experience is not even something that's relatable. But they might have their own issues they're dealing with, like, not trying to minimize anything that someone's going through. But it's difficult, and I'm not looking forward to going through something like that again at all, actually, but I am looking forward to getting better at doing it. Yeah, that would be the thing. There were a few things I was going to talk about for today's video. I'm not sure what I want to talk about now. Like, there's been a lot going on. There's been a lot that's on my mind recently. I've just kind of been too busy or lacking the energy, as I discussed earlier, to kind of get through it. I initially wanted to talk about the Twitch gambling stuff. I think I might say that for another video, just because it feels kind of, the basic thing about this is, for a while the big discussion on Twitch was the hot tub meta, which is basically women in bikinis, usually women, I assume mostly women in bikinis, in hot tubs or pools or whatever else, and that would basically be their stream. And the argument from a lot of people was, this is essentially softcore pornography. It shouldn't be on the website, and a lot of people took it even further than that. One of the arguments that I can understand on that is that it's either in breach of Twitch terms of service, or they're taking advantage of the fact that Twitch isn't enforcing their categories. Which, okay, I can understand that argument at least. I'm not saying I agree with every aspect or disagree. But the other kind of big thing there was that Twitch, I guess that this is like peak degeneracy, and that like it's kind of the, pearl twisting, or pearl clutching, sorry, think about the children. I just find that kind of funny, given the fact that like the most recent thing on Twitch, which seems to be growing much more popular than hot tub streams, is the idea of Twitch gambling, where you have these extremely wealthy individuals. I'm talking about people who make 7 figures a year, 8 figures a year. So I'm talking like people who make over $10 million a year. These massive, massive streamers, who are earning, or who are basically doing these sponsored gambling streams. And I don't think I'm going to talk about this video, but I just want to present the idea for you guys, because I'll talk about it more if you want. I also discussed it on my podcast, the X2 podcast. Yeah, so they're these people that get sponsored by gambling sites, and they blow. It's not clear, and this is one of the problems, whether they're spending their own money or whether they're spending the money given to them by the gambling site. But basically, they're at times doing this in front of tens of thousands of people to over 100,000 people in the biggest streamers, and they're spending, like, in a single sitting, 10 and 20 and 30. And I saw somebody who spent literally $900,000 in 24 hours. And that's how rich and loaded these people are. They can afford to do that. But that alone is not the problem. If you want to do that on your own time, listen, I don't think it's smart, but I understand. I would never tell somebody, I would suggest if someone needs help, they get help, but I would never tell someone they can't do that with their own money. What I do have a problem with is exposing this type of thing to often very young audiences and very impressionable audiences. I mean, look at live stream fails on Reddit. These people are obsessed with streamers. They think streamers are gods. And a lot of them are very young, and it's not very hard to click past an 18 plus whatever rating on the stream. So these people are doing sponsored streams. How that works is, as a streamer, they get paid a lot of money to do the stream itself, and they're probably getting a kickback from the gambling site, like a percentage of revenue, and it's just really, really gross. It's really gross. Gambling is really serious. It's really, really, it can shatter your life. And I know, like, one of my best friend growing up, his father gambled away his education fund. And that's not good. And gambling is one of those things that a lot of people, they feel the twinge of it very easily. And I guarantee when you are streaming yourself gambling and maybe even winning, which is even worse, because these people can spend $100,000 and they win $10,000. Someone tunes in and they see that, and that's enough. It's like that's gonna ruin someone's life. And especially when you're that loaded, it's not worth it. I don't care how much you're getting paid. Like, it's probably a rounding error for these guys. Anyway, what else was I going to say? And I got to say, I'm not completely... listen, I'm not perfect either. I do streams where I drink. And drinking is a problem too. So am I one to throw shade? Maybe not. But I do think it's different. And I do think that, like, I don't know. It's not good. I've got to do self-reflection too about me. I think that we try to be relatively... we don't encourage it. It's more just entertainment. But I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about slot machines. So I don't know. I think this whole streamer culture is weird, but it's just, I don't know. It's not great. Is there anything else I want to talk about though? This has kind of just been I just kind of been scrolling through my Twitter and seeing kind of, because if I've been able to make a video, usually I've just been um, tweeting about it. I don't know. I've got the COVID vaccine coming up, which is cool. I'm dealing with some anti-vaxxers in my family. I'm not gonna say too much because I do still like the people, but they've gotten pretty far down the crazy train. Everything from it's Bill Gates to, it's just on the far end to the kind of more standard vaccine hesitancy, and it's just, I don't know, it's not good. I guess the last thing I do want to talk about, I kind of want to return to the idea of um, overwork and burnout. I got a lot on my plate right now, and I'm kind of just trying to decide what I cut and because there's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do with my family, which is more important to me than streaming. And I don't do all of it. It's not good. But on the streaming side, there's a lot, and streaming in YouTube. Like this channel, I wish I could upload to this every day. I wish I could find an editor for the main channel. I wish I could get ahead a week or a month in main channel videos, which would make things so much easier. I wish I could make some better videos to get my views back up, because everyone's views are lows now. It's not just me. And then like I'm doing too many things. So for me, I don't think about things from a business sense, and I'm wondering whether I should. And if I look at things from kind of a cold analytical point of view, the majority of what I do loses me money. Now, that's to be clear. X2, for example, it's not actually losing me money. But if I were to be cold and calculating, I would look at the opportunity cost of everything I do, and none of it would end up making me as much money as Eckhart's Ladder, my main lore channel. My podcast I do with Corey, that makes us $0.00. Aside from the only money we get from that is donations we get during the stream and a very small amount of ad revenue. I would guess we've done 66, or including special episodes, we've done 67 episodes. I would guess I've made less than $3,000 on that. Or at least around there, less than 5 certainly. And that's a major part of my week. That's 66, well, it's like probably 50 full books that I've read for the podcast. That's a lot of time. And I make no money off that. That's at least, it's a lot more YouTube videos, which would have made a lot more money. But I enjoy the podcast, and you also, from a business perspective, sometimes have to invest in things that could pay off later. Like maybe the podcast gets huge someday. I doubt it, but maybe. And then there's like X2, which is like something that I really enjoy doing. It's not going very well. If I'm being honest, right now it's not going very well. It was going well when Squadrons was doing well, but right now it's not. I'm probably losing money, not just from by the time I pay Charlie, and by the time I pay for all the things that I pay for, from the new cool art I got, from the cool ship system I'm building, I'm not losing money, but I'm not earning very much. Especially where I like to pay people who work for me, a lot. Really like paying people who do good work for me. So it's like I spend a lot of money on X2, a lot of hours too. I spend more time streaming. X2 for me is the big thing where it makes 0 sense from a financial point of view, but I can't help but do it because I really like spending time with Charlie and Corey. I like being able to work with Charlie, especially because Charlie's we go splits on most of it, but Corey as well. And it's just, I find it really rewarding. But it's not going well right now. Our stream numbers are terrible. Our video numbers are not great. We haven't had a really big hit lately. Hopefully, it's a tough time for Star Wars YouTubers. Hopefully And to be honest, I feel worse for Charlie because Charlie's working his ass off right now, especially given the fact that I've talked about. And for those who don't know, I should explain. X2 is the gaming channel I run. Charlie is my he's my co-host, but he does a lot of videos and stuff on his own. But he's putting a lot of effort, and to be honest, we're not making very much at all. And I feel bad for him because you know, I've got my Eckhart's Ladder channel to kind of go to, and it's still making decent money. And I do think work for Eckhart's Ladder does end up benefiting X2 because, like, just because of me, I'm a big draw to the channel. So the more popular the main channel gets, the more people I can hopefully draw to X2. But yeah, we got to see about that. And then there's like the podcast. We're trying to do an X2 podcast as well, which is probably the thing that I'm actually most excited for because it could do it. I don't know if it could do well, but I've got some really funny ideas and it could be fun. And again, that's the point where, like, right now things are going well enough that I can afford to make some decisions that are bad for business but good for fun and good for my heart and good for my friends and stuff. I just really hope it doesn't come to a point where that changes, and like I hope it doesn't ever come to a point where I've got to make some tough decisions and drop some things in favor of, you know, really giving it to Eckhart's Ladder like I have. I'm still working hard. I think my videos are actually getting better, in fact, but I'm so efficient now that I can pump a video out easily in 2 hours. And I just wonder what I could do sometimes if I dropped everything and spent, like, I work a lot. And I wonder what I could do on the channel if I spent the entire time that I spend on all the stuff I spend now just on videos. But I also don't want to get to that point because I don't want to drop X2. I mean, I saw in December of this past year that X2 has the potential. It will never, in my opinion, surpass my main channel, but it's got potential. Same with the podcast. Same with all these other things that I've kind of got my toes into. But like, I am at the point now where like little things, like I've had a few offers to do another tabletop series once a week, and those end up being like 5 or 6 hour streams. I can't do it. I don't want to. No, I do want to. I do want to do it, but I just don't have the energy, and I can't spend any more time on something that's taking away from the one thing that the main channel anchors all of these other things as well. That's just the way it is. If Eckhart's Ladder went away, I don't know if X2 could survive. I don't, unfortunately. The main channel anchors everything, and I've got to keep that healthy. And at some point, even if I don't have to fully quit stuff, like right now, I'm focusing on keeping it healthy as I can. And yeah, I feel a lot of responsibility, and I feel a lot of pressure, and I just worry as well, I guess. We talked about this on the X2 podcast, which you guys should, if you guys like this type of video, 100% go follow and subscribe to the X2 podcast. It's kind of just more of this, just with Corey, Charlie, and I. Very honest, and we're drinking as well. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the thing about YouTube as well is it's not forever. For me, it's not going to be forever. Not only will YouTube maybe not be around forever, but I might not be popular forever. I almost certainly will not be popular forever. How many YouTubers that were around 10 years ago are still popular today? Now, I'm kind of in that lucky situation where I don't really rely on me to maintain popularity. I rely on Star Wars and, you know, other science fiction. There's a good and a bad side to that. For one, if Star Wars fails, then it's hard for me to move on. And it's hard for people to care about other things I do. And that's something that I've found out. People just don't care very much. I didn't get the help on my tournament that I wanted to. I was hoping some people would come through and help me out, and they just didn't. They just didn't. And like, yeah, people don't care about the streaming that much or the podcast that much. which is kind of, especially for like the size of my YouTube channel. And again, it's nothing really bad. It's just kind of a reflection of the fact that people are there for the content rather than the personality. Now, that's something I can try to change. Showing my face, especially on X2 more, definitely helps. Just becoming larger overall helps as well. And I think I am actually fairly, for a Star Wars channel, I think I'm doing pretty well. Because X2 is pretty successful for a second channel. And I don't know, people do seem to care. Every sponsor that I've worked with has told me that you guys convert really, really well. Like Vite Ramen and a couple of other people have basically said, like, I'm the only fandom channel who converts well, which made me feel good about myself. But yeah, I've got a few years of YouTube. I got to earn as much money as I can, and at some point, I hope everything that I'm working on takes off. I hope everything is successful, so I don't have to choose a thing to drop. And that kind of comes back to the beginning of the episode where we talked about the tournament. And yeah, like, I hope my next tournament is more successful, and I think it will be, because that's like one area where I can diversify, and where I can be an investor in something, or be a controlling faction in something, make lots of money, but move away from the volatile nature of YouTube. But we'll see. This has been a long episode. I'm going to cut it off here at 30 minutes. Thank you guys all so much for listening. I probably just put some tournament footage up. I hope you guys enjoy that. Until next time, though, have a good one. Be safe. And of course, may the force be with you.